Okay, I'm back out here with the OMP Hobby First Step RC Micro Helicopter Heli 101. Now, in the first video, I did a manual startup, and I did a manual takeoff and a manual landing, and this time we'll do a one-click takeoff and one-click landing. The wind's a little worse this time than it was in the first video. It's 4 to 6 out here right now. But let's go ahead and get it in the air by clicking the one key takeoff. I got my timer set for 5 minutes. Okay, and this is in low rate right now. Gain a little bit of altitude so you can see it. Alright, and we're pushing against a 4 to 6 mile per hour wind right now. It was headed into the wind. Now we're going downwind, and this is in low rate mode. Now check out the yaw axis on this bird. Pretty smooth, huh? It didn't take me any time at all to get used to the yaw rate on this helicopter. I don't know what they did, but the yaw axis is much smoother on this helicopter than the previous micro helicopters that I have flown, which makes it easier to do more scale turns. That's going downwind. It's actually pushing against this wind pretty well for being in low rate mode. Bring it down a little bit. Yeah, that is doing pretty good. I don't know if you can hear the wind in the camera. But we've got pretty breezy conditions out here today. Oop, just missed a truck. But look at the yaw on it. That is smooth. Okay, so I want to move it back a little ways along this dirt path here, and push against the wind just to see, do a run through here in low rate. That's not too bad, pushing against a 4 to 6 mile per hour wind in low rate mode. Look at the yaw. Cool, huh? That's got the smoothest yaw rate of any of them that I've flown so far, and I'm not having to work at it. Have you guys watched the first video on this aircraft? Wow, we're really getting some wind now. Have you guys watched the first video on this aircraft? Usually it takes me 2 or 3 flights to get used to the yaw rate, and on this one it didn't take any time at all. I mean, I was comfortable with it right off of the bat. Which makes it a lot easier to fly. Yeah, and we're really pushing against some wind now. I don't know, when I first got out here I took a wind measurement and it was 4 to 6, but it certainly feels like it's more than that now. And look how slow and smooth you can use the yaw. I'm going to descend a little bit. But for a micro heli, with the weight of this little tiny thing, it's pretty cool seeing it push against this much wind in low rate mode. Okay, so let's put it in high rate mode now. Oh yeah, much faster. even against the wind. Okay, let's bring it back this way and get a run against the wind again. That's pretty good, especially for a beginner helicopter, and this is definitely a beginner helicopter. I think that for a beginner, this is an awesome little helicopter. Oh, it's already been 5 minutes? Okay, so let's bring it over here again. I gotta push it into the wind. Alright, get her cranked down. Alright, now we can pick it up. But that is pretty good. I don't know if you guys can hear the wind in my camera, but we have got a pretty stiff breeze coming through here right now. I'll take another wind measurement, but I think it's probably kicking up over 6 now. So that was pretty cool. I want to put another battery pack in it and see what else we can do with it. See you in a minute. Okay, the wind is increasing now. It's kicking up to 7.5 miles per hour now. So, okay, we'll do the 1 key takeoff again. Okay, hopefully you can see both things on. Okay, there we go. I got it pointed into the wind. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in high rate mode. That is a cool little helicopter. That was a pretty good yaw rate at full stick deflection. Now let's see in high rate. That zips along pretty good. Let's bring it down. Now let's bring it over here and see what kind of deflection we have going on the pit, on the roll axis. Not bad. And then on the pitch axis. Not bad. That was going backward into the wind. Okay, I'm going through my prop wash there. That's downwind. Bring it back upwind. That's going upwind. Whoa, watch out for the truck. Downwind. That's pretty fast. Going downwind. Going upwind. I got full stick forward. That's pretty darn good for as much wind as I'm flying in. Okay, so let's bring it down again. Try not to descend too much through my prop wash. You can hear it. Hear it go through the prop wash. I'll run into myself. But look how smooth that is. Look at how slowly I can use the yaw. I think that's important. I think that's very important that all axes are smooth, especially for a beginner helicopter. and that is pretty darn smooth. I don't know if they've put their own firmware on this helicopter, and I think I forgot to start my timer. I don't know if they put their own firmware on this helicopter or if they've adjusted the firmware so that the yaw rate is not so abrupt. But I love the yaw rate on this little helicopter. Look at that. That makes it so much easier to fly, guys, when you've got a nice smooth yaw rate like that. That's crosswind. But yeah, I mean, that makes it so much easier to control. And it makes it look a lot more scale. So I am very impressed with what they've done with the yaw rate on this little micro heli. I love that. It doesn't take any time to get used to it. Okay, let's descend a little bit again. There we go. Into the wind in high rate. Downwind and low rate, in high rate. But isn't that cool being able to fly that so smoothly? And when it comes to helicopters, I am a beginner when it comes to helicopters. But that is uber smooth. I really like that. And it's extremely stable in the air. Even in some wind, I never would have believed that this thing would be able to push against the 7.5 mile per hour wind, even in high rate. So I think this also might be the most wind that I've flown one of these in. Now the wind is dissipating now, but on the first flight and the first part of this flight, the wind was pushing pretty darn good. So it looks to me like it wouldn't have any problem flying this in a 5 to 6 miles per hour wind. I was, sometimes the wind was pushing up to 7.5, gusting to 7.5, and I could push against it even in low rate mode. So that's pretty impressive too, considering the size of this little helicopter. Well, look at those turns. That's not taking me any effort. I think this is just my third flight on this helicopter now. Yeah, third flight. It looks cool in the air, doesn't it? Trying to do a return to target maneuver there. Let's descend again. This is a fun little helicopter. Okay, let's descend again. Woo. There we go. It's increasing altitude a little bit when a gust comes up. But you know, you can fly this slowly too, and you could fly it in a very small area. The first area that I flew in during the first review video, it looks bigger on camera than it actually is. So I couldn't really get, you know, too fast to runs through there. So I wanted to bring it out here. I was they were forecasted much less wind than what I have out here, but it is what it is. But I guess it was a good test to see how well it could push against that much wind, and no problem. But look at that yaw rate. Descend a little bit more. Yeah, a beginner's not going to have any problem with this helicopter, especially in the yaw axis. Going through my prop wash a little bit. You do some pirouettes with it. Okay, so now that I've had my fun and I didn't set my timer, I have no idea how long I've had it in the air. Let's go ahead and land it. And I forgot about doing the 1-key landing. When I landed it on the first flight, I actually landed it manually, although I took off on the 1-key. So let's go ahead and press the 1-key landing. Okay, and now it should stop the rotors all by itself. There we go. Okay, so 1-key landing, 1-key takeoff worked great. The high and the low rate worked great. Has a fantastic yaw axis on it. So I will see you back at the hangar, and I'll give you my conclusion on this micro helicopter.
We've flown it in low rate, high rate, and 4 to 5 mile an hour wind, and 4 to 7.5 mile per hour wind. And I would say the second half of the second flight today, it was probably only about 3. You know, so we've flown it in all kinds of variations of wind in the 2 flights, and it seemed to handle everything just fine, even in low rate, which kind of impressed me, that it could push against that amount of wind even in low rate. And in high rate, it was actually moving pretty quick into the wind. All the axes on this helicopter are extremely smooth, especially in the yaw axis, which I don't usually find on micro helicopters, at least not up to this point. So this one is the smoothest in the yaw axis that I have flown so far. And having an aircraft that is smooth in all axes is important for all skill levels, but it's especially important for a beginner. So far this is the best beginner helicopter that I have flown. Now usually it takes me 2 or 3 flights to get used to the lack of resolution in the yaw axis on these micro helicopters. But you guys saw the maiden flight, or if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. But on the maiden flight, it was smooth right from the get-go, even in the yaw axis, and that really surprised me. I didn't expect that. So this helicopter isn't the least expensive micro helicopter, beginner helicopter that you'll find. but it is the smoothest in all axis, including the yaw axis, that I have flown so far, and that is very important, so that it's not jerking all over the place. So I had a lot of fun with it, and I definitely recommend this as a beginner helicopter. I don't have any qualms about recommending this as a beginner helicopter. Like I said, it flies great. And I know some of you probably want to know if this can carry the weight of an all-in-one micro FPV camera. So the next time I take it out, I will try to remember to take some coinage with me and attach approximately 5 grams of weight to this helicopter and fly it around. And if it can carry it well, then yeah, I would say this could also carry a micro all-in-one FPV camera. So I plan on finding that out, so stay tuned for that. The links to this is in the show notes. There's also posts on this helicopter on our Facebook page, and I'll be uploading some photos from the flights and posting those on the Facebook page as well. But exceptional flying little micro helicopter, and a very good helicopter for all skill levels. You'll have fun with it no matter what your skill level is. But if you're looking to get into helicopters for the first time, this one is at the top of my list right now. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the air.